I used to hate jeans. Jeans are the actual worst. They're uncomfortable in any position other than standing like that dude on restroom doors. They're bulky and they bunch up in uncomfortable places. But when I was running Caffeinated Records, I wore jeans. I had a couple pairs that I could live with, and I wanted to look professional. Presentable over comfortable. It just seemed right. Jeans are the pants for the working man. But then the studio closed, and life became a chaotic mess of work between cleaning out the studio, selling gear, closing accounts, and trying to fit everything I had left into my friend's house where I was living. I remember putting on a pair of sweatpants, and something just clicked in my brain, and I thought, I'm never wearing jeans again. And I meant it. I lived my life almost entirely out of a steady rotation of like 6 pairs of sweatpants and joggers. After the turmoil of the studio, I just wanted to be comfortable. What's wrong with that? A comfortable life. Turns out, a comfortable life also has its drawbacks. Beyond the depression and the lack of drive, I just wasn't myself. Apparently, you appreciate sweatpants so much more when you can slip into them after a purpose-driven day of hard work. So, when I finally chose to jump over the edge, I walked to my dresser, opened the bottom drawer, and made a decision. It's time once again to put on my working man pants. The story you're about to hear has no ending. That is to say, whatever end will be has not happened yet. This is a story of one guy, myself, trying to fulfill his dream. But in a lot of ways, this is a story about thousands and thousands of people. Entrepreneurs, inventors, and relentless creatives. It's about the people with an idea who had the audacity to walk to the edge of their comfort zone and jump into the unknown to pursue it. Or at least, this is a case study of my attempt to do just that. This story is being captured and crafted in real time, which means however this story ends, you and I will discover it together. I'm Jeremiah, and you're listening to Over the Edge. I'm realizing right now, we haven't had a formal introduction. Hello, my name is Jeremiah Shoemaker. I lead a creative media company called Sleepy Dog Creative, and I recently left my 9-to-5 and jumped headfirst into the world of entrepreneurship. If by chance you're one of those chaotic people who skips the prologue of a book to jump right to chapter 1, you're going to want to go back. The best way for you to understand where I am right now and why it matters is for you to understand where I've been. Okay, so where were we? I hope that my story can play a small role in rekindling that fire that's hiding inside of you. Maybe if I can do something bold, you can too. I hope so, because on October 1st, 2024, I left my job and jumped over the edge. Okay, cool. We're caught up. I think it's about time I introduce you to some key players in the origin of Sleepy Dog. You're probably going to hear a lot from them in the future. The first one is my friend Kahutli Alvarado. Kahutli is a graphics and motion graphics designer. In fact, you've already seen some of his work because he designed the brand for Sleepy Dog Creative and the logo for this show. Kahutli and I have worked together for several years in the past, and while I was trying to figure out what this next phase of my life would look like, he was a good sounding board. And since he designed the logo for Sleepy Dog, he's already been instrumental in the development of my company.
I would go into work at Tala, barista it up, and then immediately find a table and just start designing, drop sketches and ideas, stalk your Facebook for photos of Rusty.
You're also kind of in the process of doing your own example of jumping over the edge, right? Tell a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's Spotlight Coffee. It's a mobile coffee cart. Me and my buddy Mike, we've just had this dream forever to do our own thing, do our own coffee thing. Seeing how determined he was, I knew someday, Lord permitting, we'll be able to do it. And sure enough, he invites me over to hang out over at his apartment, and he just asked me, hey, if I wanted to start a coffee thing, would you want to be my business partner? And in that moment, I was like, yes. Now that we're coming up with our first 2 events this month, I'm excited to see what it can be. There's obviously like fears and ever creeping doubts of like, how will this work? But what's cool is me and Mike have a pretty strong bond. We're both pretty determined. He's a master behind the bar, and for me, I'm just excited to use my creativity and grow something up from nothing, the same way you are.
As we go forward, we'll keep checking in on Spotlight Coffee, because like Sleepy Dog, I just have a feeling that they're right at the beginning of something really great. The second person I want you to meet is my wife, Annie. Annie is a super supportive, creatively minded person, and she's been a wonderful source of encouragement and advice as I decided to make this jump over the edge, which means a lot because if I make the jump, she's making it with me. Both she and Kahootli were in the room the day it all came down to the wire, and I realized I have to make this decision, and I have to make it today.
It's funny because I remember you standing there and being like, I have to make a decision. I have to decide, like, am I doing this? Am I not? And I could tell that you were freaking out, obviously, because it's a big decision. And I was trying to be supportive, but in my head, I was like, well, yeah, obviously.
What's cool is that entire time, like, there was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of unknowns. There was a lot of things that needed to be answered right away. But the thing I knew for sure was that it seemed like you knew for sure what you wanted to do. Like, I believed in what this could be, what it can be, and what it will be. And so subconsciously, I like knew I was going to tell you, just go for it.
But I think I said, the worst has already happened once. You know, it was Caffeinated Records, and you survived, and you learned from it, and you were fine, and will be fine.
And so, in that moment, even though it was terrifying, I composed my letter of resignation, wrote an email to my boss, attached the letter, and finally hit send. It turns out that the stress about the jump was way worse than the actual jump itself. I wanted to start this right, so I created some rhythms and systems for myself. I started a morning routine, which is currently a bit of personal hygiene, followed by a quick pour-over, and a brief journal entry to set the tone for the day. I started using a project management software so I could make tasks for myself for the day and for the week ahead. I rearranged the studio setup in my house to make it more suitable for daily laptop work, and as I mentioned at the start, I started wearing jeans. As soon as I left my job, I hit the ground running. The first 3 weeks were almost completely booked with work, both video work and some freelance gigs I picked up. I set a gross income goal for the business, and I imagined I'd get there in maybe 6 to 8 months, but I managed to reach my goal in the first month. I was ecstatic. After a rigorous 3 weeks of work, I sat down with a full week left in October and all of November to start rolling. There's a lot of things to do when starting a business. Design business cards, purchase the web domain, set up the email address, design the website, create social media pages, set up your LLC, and most importantly, start making money. Hi, my name is Jeremiah.
Hey, this is Jeremiah with Sleepy Dog.
My name is Jeremiah Shoemaker. I lead a creative media company. Basically, we're creative media, so I was wondering if there was any kind of... So the price varies a lot based on the project. Do you have a budget? Did you talk about a story together, a price estimate? Do you have a budget in mind? Hey, I just wanted to follow up about... Hey, this is Jeremiah. I felt unstoppable. I felt like I was right where I was supposed to be. I was in my lane. But life never is that simple, is it? The first couple weeks of November, I didn't bring in any money. But that's to be expected. I mean, there's meetings and estimates and contracts. There's a hefty process to go through before the money shows up, and I knew that. So I stayed patient, and I kept my eye on the prize. But a week closed, and then another week closed, and the situation stayed the same. Meetings were good. Lots of potential projects were stirring. But due to the holiday season, things kept getting postponed. I remember one afternoon, I went to lunch with my dad, and during our 1 hour of time together, I got 2 separate emails postponing project conversations until after the holidays. This isn't to throw shade on anyone because it's the holiday season. That's just how it goes. But that unstoppable feeling inside of me began to decelerate. Then, I started hitting roadblocks. Kahootli and I put about 40 hours of work into designing the website, only to realize we didn't fully format the design properly, so the whole thing got messed up once you expanded the screen. Then, my Google business listing wasn't getting verified, which meant that my business was pretty much invisible online. And then, my business was still legally listed as Caffeinated Records, which meant that I couldn't cash checks made out to Sleepy Dog Creative until I could change the name of the business and prove to the bank that I had the legal right to do so. It felt like I kept hitting snares that demanded my time and attention. All the while, the jobs were nowhere to be found. Despite my best efforts, it was looking like November would bring me about 5% of my gross income goal, which, in case you're not doing the math, is 1/20th of what I was hoping for, and far less than I needed to survive. Slowly, but surely, that fear from a couple months ago began to creep back in. I tried to shake it and stuck to my daily rhythms, but it was hard to deny the impending doom in front of me, and it was hard to focus on my work when the whole thing felt so bleak. I ran out of options, and so I walked downstairs and I told Annie that we wouldn't have money to buy Christmas gifts for the family. I think this is one of those moments where it all got real.
Gift giving is, that's important to me to be able to do. And you know how I am. It takes me a minute to process things. I was bummed. I was disappointed, but very quickly it was like, okay, well, we'll do something else then. We'll figure something out.
Things continued down the same path. Days filled with meetings and emails, ending without any money added to the bank account. It started getting to me. Every now and then, when I needed to process something, I would record a little video journal so I could process my thoughts out loud. In the peak of my despair, I opened my phone and recorded this clip. I don't know if it's important, but for what it's worth, I recorded this clip before I planned on starting this podcast. My point is that the things I said in this recording were just meant to be for myself.
It's like a week before Thanksgiving. It's about 2 months into me leaving my job, doing this thing full time. When I feel like I'm gonna collapse, I feel like I'm doing everything and nothing is working. Like, I'm not getting a lot of no's, but I'm getting a lot of not nows. Let's revisit it after the holidays. Let's, keep talking. Let's keep figuring this out, and that's great. And it maybe means that 2 months from now, we will be fine. But maybe it doesn't. And I don't think I have the money to get us there, to hold us over until then. I feel like now is the time that I need to run fast. And it's also the time that I feel like I'm so tired. Okay, I believe in what I'm doing. I believe it has value. I believe it matters. I believe I'm good at it. And I believe I can make it work. But I think I'm also afraid of publicly failing, starting this thing and telling everyone that this is what you're doing. And, 2 months later, you're done.
And it's okay to be depressed, struggling to find yourself. Things just haven't been the best, looking for a way to vent. I pray I find a way to cope. I try some more. I pray, I fight, I doubt, I hope, but there's only so far. 'Cause I've got hope and you've got hope, and we're all hopeful until life gets the best of us and life's a joke, and everyone knows, and we all pretend until life makes a mess of us.
I don't exactly know how to hold tension between hope and desperation. Maybe I'll figure that out sometime. But man, When desperation is the one calling the shots, it's hard to hold any space for hope.
I pray I find a way to cope. I try some more. I pray, I fight, I doubt, I hope, but there's only so far. 'Cause I've got hope and you've got hope, and we're all hopeful until life gets the best of us, and life's a joke, and everyone knows, and we all pretend until life makes a mess of us.
We'll be right back.
I think when I've held on to my business and that becomes the goal is to grow the business and to make things happen, that's when I feel like I go the deepest into the valley.
This is Ryan Mione. He's a friend of mine and runs his own video production company called 4137 Productions. Over the years I've known him, he's always been a couple steps ahead of me, so he's always been a good source of wisdom as I navigate my own journey. I called him to get his take on valleys like the one I was going through. I figured his perspective would help me see this moment in maybe a different way.
The year I started 1-7, we got hit with COVID. And I remember we landed a really large client. I remember sending the email out, and then like 2 weeks later, COVID really hitting, and got no work for months. Had to work part-time at Starbucks to fill that gap. To me, when I find myself in the space of that intense fear, I feel like it's my pride that's taking center stage, because I'm like, well, I'm running a business and it should look like this. And I think that just got destroyed with the Starbucks stuff, because it was like, okay, like, this is not how I imagined this. I imagined myself going, oh, when I have an office and I have employees, like, it will feel like this. And you just kind of realize that the things that you're looking for create new problems, and they're things that you should celebrate and be excited about. But as soon as you arrive, it's never a feeling of arrival. It's just kind of the next step. I think there's just this feeling of like walking in my office or doing work and going, this is really cool. Like, this is really awesome that this is my life right now. And it might not be that way forever.
It's really hard to be present in the moment when, in the moment, you feel like you're being pressed from all sides. But I kept trying. Despite my fears, I would wake up, do my daily routine, and sit down on my desk for another day of giving it my all. More emails, more calls, more meetings, and once again, I would end my day with nothing more than some opportunities with potential. But that's all it ever was. Potential.
This is something that I've not talked to you about before, but I can see you being like so hard on yourself. And that's obvious. That's going to be natural. That's going to be a natural part of it. And I try to be uplifting during those times. I think a lot of times I'm trying to celebrate like any of those steps of success because I can see how good it is. Like, I'm on the outside and I can see it. And I wish you could see more of that too.
Quick note. Don't ever take for granted the people who believe in you. Make sure they know how much they matter, because they're your lifeline.
Biggest support system is my wife. She is such a solid ground for me when processing things, and able to say, okay, you're freaking out for no reason, like we've been here before, and celebrate me when I do things well.
It was a Friday afternoon, November 22nd, at about 3:15. My productivity had been waning all day. The weight of everything was looming heavily. I got out my phone and recorded that voice memo you heard just before the break.
And it just feels so, I don't know what the word is. It feels so, like, not overwhelming. I feel frozen. It feels like the weight of it all has just put me in, like, panic frozen. Like analysis paralysis or something. Paralyzed, yeah. I feel paralyzed.
As soon as I was done, I had a realization. I started this job because I love to create. Creativity is my life source, and in the chaos of starting my business, I realized I hadn't created anything in weeks. At that moment, I decided that I needed to take some time and create something that mattered to me, to remind myself of the reasons I jumped over the edge to begin with. And it was in that desperate but hopeful moment that I began recording episode 1 of this podcast. The story you're about to hear has no ending. That is to say, whatever end will be has not happened yet.
I'm trying to tell a quick version of Caffeinated Records, but really leaning into the how do you muster up the wherewithal to try it again.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the creative challenge or if it was the process of retrospection, but once I started writing, something beautiful happened. It was like I got whisked away back to creative land and I got lost in the magic of it all. Writing music, reliving memories, and interviewing old friends.
When you came to me and said, hey, I think I need to get a part-time job, and my response was, that's not going to help Caffeinated. I feel like that's telling that even though I was thinking about you, I was mostly thinking about my thing.
I mean, it's your baby. I've grown a lot of understanding. In the moment, I was like, okay, what the hell do I do? I appreciate that, but I also understand.
The whole thing felt like a balm for my soul. And, just like I was hoping, it reminded me of the reasons I jumped over the edge. It did not solve any of my problems. Life was still as complicated and challenging as it was before, but now, I felt more grounded in my purpose. I think there's something powerful in there. This idea that you can find some really beautiful moments while you're staring in the face of hardship. It's those beautiful moments that might just give you the strength you need to keep moving forward. At least, that's what happened to me.
Yo, I have a problem now because so I just officially finished the pilot today, and it's the only thing that I want to do now is I want to keep building this story, and I've got ideas for what this next episode is, but I've got stuff to do. I don't know if you've ever started a business, but it's a lot of work, and now this is the only thing that I want to do, and so now I'm that's just where I'm at right now.
After I finished the first episode and sent it to some friends, I discovered that my story matters more to people than I realized.
Man, you are really good at telling stories, my guy. I really enjoyed that thoroughly, and I can't wait for you to make more, to be honest, because I felt like I could relate to this very heavily. You kind of spoke to me very, very clearly and made me feel something with what you said, and it just really, honestly helped me get through it, just listening to that.
The voice was super authentic, and you could tell this was from the heart, and in that it really was based upon legitimate experiences that you had, and that was cool.
The inclusion of my poem there was just absolutely overwhelming to me. And then I made the connection to Over the Edge. And you honor me as you are a creative who I have immense respect for. I adore what you did. It's lovely. And having my poem as part of this brilliant piece of work is absolutely breathtaking for me. So thank you.
It almost felt like a relief at the end of it. The dream doesn't end. Things can die, but there's still learning experiences. And just because one thing failed doesn't mean you're a failure, and it doesn't mean that you're going to fail at the thing you do next.
It made me happy. It was just so good. That's one of the best things that I've listened to in a long time. I think there's a purity in the way that you're doing it. But it was also I was really proud of you. It's hard to overcome a kind of fear, regardless of the situation. And so I was just man, the fact that you did that is a huge testament to your character.
It's what if I were to fail again? I really resonated with that because I have a big fear of failure. I don't know, just the way that you told the story, I was man, okay, this is encouraging me.
You get the poem, right? You totally get it.
Good job, man. I'm just impressed with your go-getter attitude and your faith in God and your faith in yourself, man. So that's really awesome to hear everything.
As you move forward, if you can figure out how to embrace failure and make it make you better, then you're just going to keep going. Like, you're going to keep succeeding. I have a ton of faith in you, and I think you're going to go far.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of the person you guys turned you into. I'm not surprised by it at all. Like, it's one of those things where I totally saw the kind of person you are now back when you were in high school and even post high school, you know? But it's just cool for me to see it take some fruition. It's just fun.
Man, I think we might have found the thing, guys. This is going to be really good.
With a rejuvenated excitement and sense of purpose, I jumped right back into action. And I don't know if it was just good timing, but almost immediately, I started having some little victories.
Okay, it is Monday morning, kind of, November 25th. It's technically Sunday night at 1 a.m. My business profile is visible on Google. Here we are, and I just looked it up, and it's live, and it's happening, and that is a good sign, and this makes me feel like it's the start of things taking a very positive turn. So let's get it.
And that was just the start, because the very next day, this happened.
Whew, my hands are shaking, and I don't know if it's because I really haven't eaten today, and I drank a lot of coffee, and I'm feeling it, or if it's because of the conversation I just had. But let me set the scene. Money's been tight. Have made not much in the last 4 or 5 weeks. Been trying a lot, been feeling really down. I just started a conversation with somebody about doing a podcast, much like the podcast that I'm doing. Now, to be fair, we started this conversation before I launched my podcast, so that wasn't an inspiration. But all that to say, we've been talking through ideas and working through stuff, and I think we're gonna be okay. We started the budget conversation and figuring out what we could do, and their priority was very much that I have the time, the capacity, the resources to be all in, and I was like, that is the thing that I can do right now. And so we had some conversations, and this is the big break, guys. This is the big break that I was really needing, and so this is the start of great things. I know it.
So I told you about the potential podcast.
Yes.
So we had another meeting, phone call today.
Mm-hmm.
We are moving forward with the project.
Yes.
She wants it live by March, so we got to get started kind of right away.
Mm-hmm.
And she's gonna lock in the number tomorrow, but the project is gonna be somewhere between $1,000.
Holy shit.
Sorry, I'm not gonna go number dropping on y'all. And don't get me wrong, this project won't solve all our problems, but it does guarantee close to half of what we'll need for the next 4 months, which moves us from a day-by-day struggle to survive into a world with a brighter future. Nothing is certain, but we don't need certainty. We just need a little bit of hope. I called my dad and told him the good news.
I've been wondering how it was going to work out. You've been cold calling people and emailing and, looking for work, got your website done, and you've been taking all of these steps, doing all of this stuff that you possibly can. My experience has been that oftentimes, whether it's the Lord directly or just life circumstances, but you tend to be brought right to the brink before a solution materializes. I've had it happen in my life countless times, but massive. I keep telling you all the stories about our stuff, but it always worked out. Things in life tend to be provided for right when we need it.
I feel more alive the more I keep pressing myself over my comfort zone. I've been searching for comfortable positions ever since I considered myself a professional. But I feel like the more I push myself over the boundaries of trusting something higher than myself to carry the way through, I feel like the more I'm actually in line with where I'm supposed to be.
When I decided to quit my job, I wrote out a list of reasons why I should make the jump. I keep this list on my desk and I read it regularly. If you find yourself standing at the edge like I was, make yourself a reasons list and keep it close to you. Life is uncertain. but the reasons I wrote on that list are as true to me today as they were when I wrote them, maybe even more so. If you keep your focus on your reasons, you can let life dance and crash around you, because you know you'll be okay.
We're taking new steps, places we never been. Yeah, we're taking our time, trying to take it all in. Cause this is our time. Yeah, this is our time. We don't know what's ahead, but we gotta remember we'll always be okay as long as we band together. Cause this is our time. Yeah, this is our time.
Over the Edge is a production of Sleepy Dog Creative. It was written, posted, and edited by Jeremiah Shoemaker. Our theme song is OK by Quinn from Space. This episode's featured songs are Hope by Osea VII and OK by Quinn from Space. Music composition by Jeremiah Shoemaker and Lucas Hibden. Graphic design by Kahutli Alvarado. Special thanks to Ryan Mion, Kahutli Alvarado, Annie Bell, and a host of friends and family for contributing their voices to this episode. For more updates on Sleepy Dog Creative, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Sleepy Dog Creative. If you enjoyed this show and you want to see it continue, leave us a rating and spread the word. With your help, this show is just getting started.
So, first of all, I think you did a great job on that podcast. Here's what I wanted to give you some feedback on. The ending of the last episode was too hopeful. I think you're still in the dark part. I know the story maybe better than you do. See, I know where you are in the story. But for the listener, it might feel like, okay, he's done it. But I think you need to let the audience know this is a little bit longer. It's a little bit longer story than 3 episodes, and we got it. Ta-da! You don't quite got it. But that's the part that I know, right? That's the part that I know. The success you had with that project, you'll remember that one for the rest of your life. You will. My job is to not let you get too comfortable with and happy with yourself, because there's more work to do.